Very good morning from Petrovaradin, which is a small town these days, I believe, formerly part of Novi Sad, and that is where I am hoping to spend some time in this video. I've caught a train from Belgrade. It's taken about 45 minutes to get here. Getting to Belgrade Station was not the easiest thing in the world. It's about a 45-minute walk from the city centre. I bought a ticket from the train station, which cost 393 Serbian dinar. That is about £2.80 in sterling or €3.30. So a pretty good price on the ticket. The reason I've got off at this station and not Novi Sad Central is because I want to walk from this part of the town, past the old fortress, over the bridge, and then into the historic city centre itself. So if you're interested in seeing a little bit of Serbia outside the big capital, consider joining me in this video. So mission number one is to try and find some breakfast. I think I've been up a couple of hours, haven't eaten anything yet, quite hungry. So I'm on the main shopping street, I think, the main street through the town. And so hopefully I'll spot somewhere that's selling some kind of breakfast, maybe a coffee. That would definitely go down a treat. There are lots and lots of little mini supermarkets selling drinks and beers. Prices are pretty decent out here. Let's take a look. Large bottle of Fanta, 119 Serbian dinar. That is less than £1 sterling, about 86p, or about €1.10. I just popped into St. Peter's Church. I don't know much about it, but the door was open, so I strolled in, and it is a fairly new church, it certainly looks like to me. Paintings and pictures, and up above we have a very large white dome, and then back here we have another chandelier and the colours of Serbia. Breakfast has been crossed off the list. I stopped by a little bakery that I just saw on the side of the road. Very modern inside. I went for 2 chocolate croissants and a bottle of Fanta, of course. Not the most healthy of breakfasts, but I played it safe. I wasn't sure what other pastries were or had in them, so I just went with what I know. The Fanta cost about 80p and the croissants were about £1 each. So the total bill was about £2.80, about €3.20, or about 390 Serbian dinar. Pretty much the same as the train ticket to get here. Behind me there is the Belgrade Gate. It signifies the entrance into the castle. It was originally built in the 1750s, but restored recently, about 10-15 years ago, in the classical style that it was originally built with. Inside the fortress itself there is a lower town and upper town, and through that gate leads you into the lower town. That's where I am right now. You can see all these really pretty small streets. Up there ahead of me is the clock tower. We'll be heading up to there in a couple of moments, but I thought I would also show you the main street of the lower town here. These lovely pastel coloured buildings leading in that direction towards Novi Sad. The bridge. I think we'll have a look down there in a second, and the other way, that's where I've come from. The lower town is where you'll find all the residential areas of the fortress. Some lovely buildings, lots of different colours as I showed you on the main pedestrian street, but there are a couple of blocks of very unique houses lit up nicely in the sun. It's nice just to have a walk around them and enjoy the sights. The fortress was built between 1692 and 1780 by the Austrians, who had captured this area and this city from the Ottoman Turks a few decades prior during the Great Turkish Wars. Behind me there are the steps to the upper town. Let's do this. If you Google the city of Novi Sad, most likely a photograph of that clock tower will come up, and that's because that clock tower is the most famous symbol of the city. It was erected there in around about 1750. The clock face is about 2 meters in diameter, and it is most notable for the 2 hands of the clock being swapped over. And what I mean by that is the shorter hand tells you the minute and the longer hand tells you the hour. Reason being, the hour of the day was more important than the minute, and people from a distance had a better chance of seeing the hour hand, especially the fishermen who would be out fishing on the Danube. The idea was they could look up, tell the time to the nearest hour, and decide whether they were going to continue fishing or call it a day. The clock tower has been built on a panoramic balcony that you maybe can see behind me right here inside the fortress complex, and from that balcony there are magnificent views across the lower town of the fortress, the bridges crossing the Danube, and then across the other side of the river you can see the old town of Novi Sad, which is where I'll be heading a little bit later on in this video. Behind me are the remains of the Franz railway bridge that crossed the Danube River here. It was opened in 1883, and at the time it was one of the largest railway bridges crossing a river in Europe. It was destroyed though in 1941 by the Yugoslav army to slow down an advancing German army on the other side of the river. Unfortunately, it didn't work. The Germans ended up taking control of this region, and the railway bridge was so valuable for moving freight across, they rebuilt it the same year. So 1941, it was destroyed and rebuilt. 3 years later though, the Germans themselves destroyed the bridge again as they retreated from this area at the end of the Second World War. The Germans also intended to destroy the tunnel that goes underneath this fortress and out onto that bridge, but an Italian prisoner of war disconnected the explosives just before they were about to go off. There is also, just to note, a pier missing from the remains of the bridge, and that's because it was destroyed in the 1960s by explosives to make it easier for boats to navigate the river. And I want to, while I'm here, just turn the camera around and show you what I've got ahead of me. It is just a magnificent scene. The fortress complex is over there, the yellow building. I've been walking now for about 10 minutes. The city is in that direction. And I just want to show you what's over this wall here, so you can see the size, the massive walls there of the fortress and the bank. We've got a road beneath us and some kind of interesting turret here. Look at that, still existing. And there is the mighty Danube. What a magnificent river, look at that. What an awesome scene. On the other side there, as I said previously, is Novi Sad. We will be heading over there in a little bit. Before that though, we're going to continue our walk around. This site is known as the Gibraltar of Serbia, and for good reason. And it is 112 hectares in size, so it's a massive site. And you may be able to see behind me We've just got this abundance of brick fortifications, tunnels and walls that you can see all around me here. So down there is the road that I walked along first thing this morning, and then just about there is the Belgrade gate. All in all, the fortress has 10 miles, 16 kilometers of underground tunnels. I know you can access them through the museum, which is at the top, but unfortunately I went inside and the man in there told me that the museum is closed on a Monday. In any event, I am now going to head back down across the bridge and in to the city centre. Slight change of plan just before we head across the bridge. I wanted to head along the front, along by the river, to see if I can find the entrance to some of the original authentic tunnels. It is going to be a little bit of an adventure. We'll see what we can find, but I'm in the right area because I've already come across an old abandoned building here. There isn't much in it apart from just a ton of junk. I don't think I'm going to go in any further, but we are definitely in the right area. Promising. We've got some steps that head upwards. This is where I was thinking the entrance roughly would be. Just a little bit further. We are underneath now the restaurants and the bars that we saw when we were up walking along the top of those fortress walls. I can see a fence. Is it closed off? No. It's open. Look at this. So there's the tunnel up there, or one of them, and we have this steel mesh across it, but it is open, seemingly for pedestrians. What a fascinating place. It is just raw bedrock up there. There is no finish, no cement. It is just the way it was when it was drilled down here all those years ago. I don't think I'm going to head any further in though. It is pitch black, you need proper lighting, and you need to really have some kind of map with you because 10 miles of tunnels, it is very, very easy to get lost. So instead of heading further in, I'm going to head back out again over the bridge and into the old quarter of Novi Sad. We are crossing the Danube. It is 31 degrees Celsius, it's baking hot, and the castle is back there now. What a beautiful sight, lit up nicely in the sun. And then over here, the great Danube River which we're crossing. Just along the promenade, a couple of 100 metres, is a memorial called The Family that was erected in 1971. It's a tribute to all those who lost their lives from Novi Sad in the Second World War, but it's especially poignant because it remembers a particular raid. It's called the January raid, and it happened between the 21st and 23rd of January 1942, when over 1,000 citizens of the city, including over 800 Jews, were shot by occupying Hungarian forces and their bodies dumped into the cold waters of the Danube River. There's also a number of plaques that list the names of the victims. If you're interested in coming along and having a look at the memorial yourself, then it is in a small and quiet square overlooking the Danube and the fortress where we visited this morning. I'm now taking a stroll through Danube Park, which was created in 1895 from the muddy and boggy area that was the undefined riverbanks of the Danube River. So it was just a bit of a swamp if you go back 100 or so years. These days though, it is a proper park. There is a bandstand up ahead. There's also lots of statues dotted about the place of famous Serbian artists and poets. There's a nice lake in the centre. Even spotted some turtles in there. There's a nice rose bush, and just generally it's a cool place to hang out and relax for a bit. Above the tree line I could see the famous boat building, which is a government office here in the city. It was built and designed to look like a boat, and that it does. Next up, we're heading for the city centre. First thing you're going to notice when you come into the city centre is that it is nothing like Belgrade, and there's actually a very good reason for that. Belgrade was ruled by the Ottoman Turks for 300-400 years, and as a consequence a lot of influence from the Ottoman Turks ended up being impressions upon Belgrade. Here in Novi Sad, the Ottoman Turks ruled for about 100-150 years. But then things were taken over by the Habsburg monarchy, which led of course into the Austro-Hungarian Empire. And so a lot of the buildings that you see here in the city centre look very Austrian or very Hungarian. And that's no coincidence of course, because the Austro-Hungarian Empire ruled here until the First World War. Wow, what a show. I am in Liberty Square, by the way, and you can see behind me, if I turn around a little bit, that was the Holy Name of Mary church that you could hear, that one right there. It is a Catholic church that was built in the 1890s in the Gothic revival style, and it also happens to be the tallest structure in the city. Okay, hat off, let's go and see if we can take a gander inside. Big old wooden doors. Cool things to do is to just have a stroll around off the main streets. You'll find some lovely little squares, as I've done here. You can see some buildings over there that are serving food, making me feel hungry. There's a fountain in the middle. Novi Sad is Serbia's second largest city, by the way, a population here of about 300,000 people, and Novi Sad translated to English is New Plantation. No food for me, unfortunately. A lot of the restaurants in the squares and pedestrianised streets only take cash, and I don't have enough, so I need somewhere that will take Apple Pay. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a stroll back to the train station. It's about 30 minutes walk from here. Hopefully there'll be somewhere up there that takes Apple Pay. If not, I will jump on the train about 45 minutes back to Belgrade. It is about 11 o'clock. I'm expecting to get back there tonight. But Novi Sad has been incredible. I'm back in Liberty Square, as you can see, lots going on. It is getting late. Thanks very much for watching. More coming from Serbia. Catch you in the next video.